O'clock, like call the meeting to order. First off is roll call. Doherty, yes. Manganelli?
Present.
Galizo? Absent. Diorio?
Here.
Jackson?
Here.
Okay. Levine?
Here.
Levino?
Here.
Neville?
Here.
Tamina?
Here.
Domingo? Okay. All here. First thing is budget for Veteran Services, Elderly Services, Informational Technology, and Town Clerk.
Excuse me.
Veteran Services.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes,
Do we
sir.
need to talk about public comments and that they're limited?
Yes, they've been done before.
I thought we had to do it every meeting, so sorry if I...
Okay, public comments, 3 minutes each. That's it, okay?
Thank you, sir. Do we need to do that each meeting, or is it covered now forever?
It should be,
Every meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just, that's why I brought it up.
and we are being taped, okay,
Okay.
by WCTV. First thing is Veteran Services.
Okay, find them easy. I sell office supplies.
Mike Frotton, Patty Meehan.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Our long-lost director, Lou,
Really?
killing me. Whatever.
Now they know we're up.
I don't know who, I know you miss him, but I think he misses you more.
And not
I
for
can't
anything-
even argue it, but okay, yeah, could be. So obviously, that's who we are, and we are the Veteran Services. I really think we are the best bang for your buck department in here, meaning we do the most, we generate money for the town, and we do it on probably the lowest budget. So overall, with everything I'm about to go through, we technically lowered ours by around $15,000. That's kind of what we're looking at.
How is the reimbursement from the state and federal?
So we have a program called Chapter 115, and if we spend whatever amount we spend, like right now we're requesting $200,000. What we spend out of that the following year, we'll get 75% back.
So it's
From
a
the
year,
state.
a year,
A year behind,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
So,
So, excuse me, this
Yeah,
quarter
okay.
that we'll get a check is actually from last year's.
yep,
And that goes into the general fund, right?
yes.
Okay.
So the stuff we're going to be kind of talking about is we wanted to level fund as much as possible. Obviously, we ended up lowering, but we had to do some increases due to your typical step increases. But we also did an increase to have Patty here, which is currently half-time, up to full-time. And we could very easily use her in our office at full-time.
Well, this is the famous Patty that you guys have been fighting over.
Well, there you go. So basically,
Nice to meet you.
yeah. Out of all the work we do in the office, Patty, we have it kind of split up, where I was doing a lot of the federal stuff. Patty's doing state work. That's the Chapter 115 and really any other state benefit. And we had Lou doing literally everything that did not fall into that. So that's your public stuff, your crisis, and all that. That's kind of fallen on my plate, and it's just kind of trickled down, which is why we need him back. But some of the stuff Patty went over, I want her to actually go over her numbers and be able to explain it, because it is a different system than what I actually use. So it's a complete system, different system. Want to go over your numbers?
Patty?
Sure.
Actually, I was going to say the microphone, yeah.
So with Chapter 115, it's a temporary program. It's a stopgap for indigent veterans and their dependents. And the goal of the program is to get them off of Chapter 115. So in order to do that, I do mass health buy-ins, Social Security applications, public housing, just trying to get them into Medicare. We pay medical reimbursements for their health insurance. So I watch their health insurance and their health insurance costs and make sure they're not overinsured or underinsured, or how we can save the town money. Right now, I have 22 clients. I have 5 clients who are medical only. They don't get a check, but I still have to do all the work for them to keep them certified so that if they have a medical expense, they're covered. I've done 100, over the past 4 years since I started this, I've done 100 cases.
Here for the night.
So what happens is they either leave the program because their life has gotten better, and that's where Michael steps in a lot. He'll do a VA claim. We'll get them more money. And we've done 12 burials. So over the past 4 years, I have had 100 different cases. Even though I only have 22 now, it's a revolving door. So doing outreach to find new people and just trying to improve lives. So,
And that, if I may, that comes out of the Veterans Assistance, and that's the 75% reimbursable. So when you're talking about getting people off of Chapter 115, what you're doing is you're getting them alternative sources of income. Correct. Whether it's a VA claim, Social Security, like she said, disability, whatever it is. So they're getting more money every month, so they don't qualify for Chapter 115. They're living better, and they're off our rolls.
That's one of the things why we're actually dropping that one, because we have managed to find other sources of incomes, and granted, a lot of stuff has gone up, so has VA and all that other stuff. So it actually makes people go over the threshold for it. And they're technically living better. They're getting more money, so it's really not that bad. For basically for the VA, on that portion of it, we cover 1,233 veterans right now. And with that, we have an annual compensation coming into the town. Granted, it's not coming directly to the town, but the veterans in the town, taxes, spending it, $7,860,794.76 a year.
Wow.
That's coming into the town, so from the people that we served. We're currently, right now, we got we have 58 claims, active claims, starting in January. We're just in the beginning of February, so the ball is constantly moving. Some of these people may be on the Chapter 115 we're trying to help, getting VA, and some of them are just new people, guys getting out, stuff like that. So last year we did 542 claims overall. So
That's great. It really is.
And when he says you do a claim, it's not just the first hour and a half sitting with them and starting doing the paperwork.
Yeah,
It's follow-up, phone calls, follow-up visits. He also goes into, we used to go into town, now it's usually Zoom, go to in front of the judge if they
Yeah.
have to adjudicate a claim. So it's not just that 1 hour or two sitting with them to start, it's a continuous process.
Yep. So our overall is, as you saw, just going to the line items real quick. The program that I use is VetraSpec. This is the $450. That's a year. Just that alone, it's the paper we would use would probably go way over that, and that's not even. It's phenomenal on that. The training conference, that's the Cape and Leominster. The one in Leominster is mandatory. It's what we get certified on. Every 3 years, we have to get certified on Chapter 115, plus it's our training. The state actually runs that, and we get refunded for that for 75%, I do believe.
Well, no, 100%. They
Is-
pay
is
for-
it 100%
they pay
now?
for the room, they
Okay.
pay for everything, yeah.
So we're keeping that at 2,500. It's pretty much been the same. We've been pretty lucky with that one. And the other one was obviously the Chapter 115. That was 250. We're asking to lower that to 2,000. 200,000. Sorry. And even with all that, we still end up with lowering our overall picking Patty up. We ended up lowering it 15 grand. So I thought it was pretty good.
Not for anything, personally,
Yeah.
you guys are doing a great
Thank
job. Yeah,
Thank you.
give it back to our residents, and that's what counts, but
It's an
Yeah.
interesting dynamic with the young vets obviously coming home, but as the obviously World War II veterans, there's not that many. Korean veterans are in their 90s now, and our
Yep.
Vietnam veterans are in their mid to late 70s. So as their population ages, their health issues become, they need more needs through the VA.
Yeah.
And then obviously, a lot of those you can get claims because they have diabetes now, for instance, if they're Vietnam. And so it's not just one group
Yeah.
of veterans, it's the whole gamut.
Yeah. It's never a one and done.
Not for anything, you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
You really are, and I can't say enough about you guys, okay? You know, so, any comments from the?
Thanks.
I do. I have a question. So I think the last time we met, we talked about Tewksbury and their need for some assistance through your office. Is that still ongoing?
Are you referring to like a district or something, or?
No, doing Tewksbury residents
Yeah.
claims.
Yeah.
No, that's gotten better
Yeah.
since they've hired Lisa, and
Veterans will go wherever they can get the help. So
They
they'll,
don't have to necessarily come to Wilmington, they could go to another town, or another town could come to Wilmington?
yes, they're
for
actually,
VA.
yes. Yes,
For VA,
Chapter
but not
115, you have
state.
to live in the town,
yeah,
obviously.
because it's the town or the city that actually pays that, and then they're the ones who get refunded. And they're the only ones who have access to that
Tewksbury's-
specific database.
Tewksbury doing a VA housing project.
Yeah.
Yes,
On
from
Main
Soldier On, yes, I was at that meeting.
Are we going to do something like that, or what are we going to do?
It's a tough call. I mean, we have met with them,
Yep,
with the Tewksbury Town Manager, myself as director, and some representatives from Soldier On need land, you know, to,
true.
that's,
Yeah.
True, yeah.
that's the thing, you know, you can ask a builder if he wants to donate some land, or Soldier On can buy some land, but obviously not, you know, a lot of money for that, but it's a pretty good, organization, and it'd be interesting to see how that turns out up there on Main Street. Yeah,
It's,
And do they pick up the cost, excuse me?
I believe it's low income
Yeah,
yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
a-
who pays for the construction cost?
Soldier On.
Yeah.
That
Really?
organization,
Yeah.
yeah.
yes, I believe he said he got it through grants and other stuff.
And not for anything,
Amazing.
Yeah.
a lot of water there,
They actually built the ground up, like, I think he said 10 feet
yeah,
before they could actually build anything there.
yeah, you know, but I think that's an awesome project.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to see it here in town.
well, if I may, again,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
it's kind of the reason why Patty in our office has been extremely helpful doing outreach and different things like that. We do an annual luncheon
Yep,
cookout we've done for a couple of years now, 3 years.
Yep.
And we do a opening day at Hemingway with our older vets and all the residents
Yeah.
there. And outreach to do the fuel assistance and all the things that we don't really have time to do a lot on a normal basis, but we do some.
you guys are doing a great job, really are, that's for sure. So, any other questions from the committee? Public comments? None? Thank you.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, you're breaking the table.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Next is elderly services.
Spend time, Terry.
She's been hanging out the hallway.
Oh, she has? Oh.
Yeah, she has been. Terry? Come on up. Yeah,
Come on up, Terry.
Thank you.
Meet again.
I'll probably do
Oh,
that,
this
yeah.
seems so close. Can I back this
Terry,
up
how
a
you
little?
doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Your budget? Let's go right into that.
Yes, yes. Excuse me, I put a piece of candy in my mouth. I was standing in the town manager's office there, and I was like, oh, candy, so excuse this. So, to begin, yes, good seeing you all again. I can't believe already. This past year has been an exciting but a little challenging year. Exciting in the sense of that new senior center, I just can't believe our dreams are coming true. Everything is falling into place. Last year was kind of a little up and down when we had to come back and ask for just a little money, and then And then we had the groundbreaking, so it was a great year.
That was awesome.
Oh, it was just,
That's
you
awesome.
know, actually too much for words. It was really a fantastic day. But through that year, there were a few challenges along the way. We had 2 medical leaves or situations for our department. One was in May of 2023 through December of 2023. That was our transportation. So myself and our case manager, Laura Pickett, were doing all of the transportation. At that time, we couldn't provide wheelchair transportation, which was very much an unmet need for the town. And then from September of 2023 to now, the half-time position of the caseworker, we don't have currently. So that also has put a little bit of a hardness to the department. But I'm so fortunate that I have a fantastic staff, and I should say, and a lively staff, and at the same time, some fantastic volunteers. So,
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
The staff for the wheelchair,
yep.
why didn't you come to the committee here for funding to get that staff?
Good question. Thank you for asking that, John. So at the time, when we found out that could be an issue with transportation, we were hoping to be able to, so that was May, and we were hoping to be able to have someone from the school, for the school buses,
Yep.
to be able to help us out, and for just that short period of time. And it was kind of looking good, and then it was a hard time because they were doing their school program, their summer school program, and then we couldn't find a fill-in. And then we thought that was only going to be lasting for through the summer months, not realizing that it would be continuing. We didn't realize there was going to be an issue through December. So it kind of got a little out of hand. So that's kind of how things were.
Not for anything. That is a problem for our residents, okay?
Yes, it is.
And I had wished you had come to this committee for financing to do it, okay? And that's a problem. You know, that's a problem, and it should have been addressed.
So I'm very appreciative that you're bringing that up. I will know for future. At the time, I have to be very honest with you, that was never approached to me that I could
Okay.
even think to do that.
Okay.
But obviously, I mean, out of my 20-some-odd years, we won't say how many, that has never occurred before, so I didn't even think that was something that I could ask. But thank you, and I've learned my lesson, and I will most definitely come to you.
Please, please, sir. Okay, thank you.
So, any other questions with that one?
No, go ahead. No.
So that kind of set the tone for last year, just to kind of let you know as to certain things that I'm going to be asking, well, the one thing I'm going to be asking for in a few moments. So I just wanted to share, when it comes to our budget, we're very fortunate that I'm kind of not having to ask for more from the town, in the sense that we do get a grant from the state. It's called the Formula Grant. It's from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. And this year, we're very fortunate that after quite a bit of lobbying for quite a few years, we were at one point $12 an elder. Someone 60 and over get to receive $12 for the person. And now, again, after a lot of hard work, it came $14. So we're very, very fortunate. With that $14, it's around, so it's roughly, right now, it's a little over $72,000. What does that money pay for? Good question. That money pays for a part-time, part of the salary for the clerk, one of the clerks that are in the office, and it also pays for actually all of our exercise classes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 classes. Which is 13 instructors, which is pretty much times 2 as to how many classes during the week. Each of those instructors do a class a week. So it's pretty hopping with exercise and wood shop and that type of thing. So altogether, that's roughly close to $30,000 in paying for these instructors. We also, with that grant, we pay for like printing supplies, part of the printing supplies and postage. And there's also, there's a dues you have to pay for the Massachusetts Council on Aging. Believe it or not, we still to this day need to do a motion picture license, which, you know, you would never think you'd have to do that to show movies within the senior center, but we do.
It's costly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, but the costly thing that they are taking care of is we have it's called My Senior Center. It's a check-in. Quite a few years ago, we got it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it needs to be, every year it needs to be, what's that called? Like
Renewed
backed
the
up and
license.
renewed license, thank you. And that's close to $2,500, and that's taken care of
Do
through.
you get a discount for seniors?
Well, believe it or not, it's, the program is completely for seniors. And the person that devised this whole program, and this is like their 7th year, was actually someone from MIT who worked at a senior center.
Okay.
For his internship and devised this whole thing. So we actually get a pretty good break. So just to let you know that piece is covered through that. I also wanted to share it, just to remember when we're talking about different programs and things and the cost to the town, and also what we're asking for, to remember that the senior center is not only a center to do programming, those exercises and educational programs and all that type of thing, but it's also a human service agency. Whether it be to our case manager, actually she's here in the audience today, who's very active in the community. It could be anything from a hoarding issue. It could be someone that doesn't have a heating, their system crashed and figuring out how we're going to get a furnace in there. It could also be that a spouse has passed, whether it be for cancer or numerous things, or it can be the issue of support group for our Alzheimer's dementia. So there's a number of things that we do provide. Anyone can walk in off the street, ask us any question. I tell the staff we are responsible for anyone 60 and over for any aspect of anything that they should need. And some of the things you will not believe what they ask for. But
How do you interact with like National Grid or Reagan Light or whatever for the seniors?
so we are very fortunate. We have a great relationship with National Grid. I speak to them because sometimes there are some situations where people can't pay their bills. We try to work with them as to can you help? Can you kind of make a payment plan with them,
Yep.
and then kind of be the liaison because sometimes people don't want to talk to
Yep.
the light department, are fearful that they're going to be turned off. And then vice versa the other way, saying, the Reading Light has been so workable with you. This is an opportunity. You've just got to let's try to pay these bills. So in that way, and also it's because of fuel assistance. We've talked to quite a few oil companies when people are applying for fuel assistance, kind of coming up with plans for the fuel. If someone runs out of fuel assistance, there are some companies that will help people out continuing. So there's also major situations with credit cards. People are having a major issue. It was, say, 10 years ago there was, and it was doing pretty well. And right now we're in a very bad situation for credit cards. And so working with credit card companies. So there's a number of things.
Scams.
Yeah, and never mind the scams that
That's
are
the-
going on. The scams are, I know we're really fortunate that Detective Butch Alpers works very closely with the department and keeping everyone attuned as to any changes that are, there's constant. Every time you think you've solved one, there's another one coming away. So but at least there's a resource, and people feel like they can at least share the information with a detective and that someone can look into it. They've actually have some great results of getting people some of their money back, maybe not all of it, but at least stopping it. So there's, quite a few things that are part of that human service piece. The other piece that we do ask the town for as a department for support is our home delivered meals program. We roughly have 72, 75 people a day that receive meals. We have 2 home delivered meal drivers daily that deliver those meals. There's actually 7 drivers, 6 or 7 drivers. And so each has a day. Some have 2 days. And so if we roughly, last year was 17,460 meals that we delivered for the year.
How do they check on the deliveries?
Well, again, thank you. So we call our drivers like the front line. They're really our eyes and ears because these drivers go to the same people each time, so they always know if there's something, it's just something not right. This past year, the drivers were truly our heroes. They truly saved a couple of people. So what happens is, a daily route is that they go out, they have their list, they meaning the driver, they deliver to the same people. But what happens is at the end of their route, they come back to the office, and that's when we kind of talk with them. How did it go? Is there anyone that you have a concern for? Is there anyone that we should follow through with? And so it works out wonderful. If someone's not home, we immediately call. If we call the house and we still can't get through, then in turn, we call the family member. Say if we can't get a hold of the family member, then we go out to the house. Sometimes people will think I'm probably a peeping Tom, but we're kind of searching around the property. And then if it really comes to it, we will call the police to do a well-being check with us. So the program helps in a lot of different ways. So this money that you're seeing here, and that's for the hot lunch program, that is a stipend. The drivers get a stipend of $26 a day and for their mileage. So that's for the coverage of that. And the miscellaneous services, contractual services, are for our events. And so a miscellaneous type of thing. So for example is we're one of the towns that kind of stand out and standing out more. I do not charge full price for events that do go on. I try to give for the elder to pay or for the person to pay maybe 50% of it, and the rest for us to be able to use through these contractual money that is coming in. And the reason for that is I don't want someone not to be able to come to an event or come to especially a food event if they can't afford it, or being able to go out to socialize on a trip and they can't afford it, because sometimes, as you know, it could be the worst week, but if you know you're going out with someone or even getting to go to the movies, it makes you feel better. So these people doing that, I make sure that works.
Do you charge residents less than non-residents?
Usually it's filled with residents, but if that should happen, the non-residents pay full price.
Okay.
The other thing is that I do not charge for our exercise programs. For any of the classes that go on, I do not charge for that. The reason I don't charge for that is I feel the Executive Office of Elder Affairs is pretty much paying for our instructors, and I do not want to hold back from anyone to be able to take a class. And there are times where I have to put people on a waiting list to be able to take some of these classes.
Okay. What is your expectation for the new senior center?
You know, I am beside myself as to, like, at night trying to think, oh my gosh, we can do this, this, and this. The very first thing will be the fact is I don't have to cancel a class to have a class, to have an event. That's going to be number one. Number two, I don't have to monitor, all right, I have to make sure there's a 20-minute space in between the classes so people can park. And then the thing that I'm beside myself with is that large function room where we can really do a sit-down dinner, dance and everything, and not have to be out by a certain time or worry about things that that's going to be their space. And we can have up to 250 people in there at a time. And the kitchen is there, so we can just serve right out of that kitchen. We can do our memory cafe, which is coming back right into that kitchen. No one has to, everything will be able to be on site. And so, in saying that, which leads me into the next, is our program. I'm hoping to be able to ask you, and I kind of set the seed at a meeting, I forget when that was. I really don't want to remember when that was, but so, obviously I got a little emotional during that meeting, but, to lead up to the fact of a program coordinator, outreach worker. And the program coordinator, my thing is for us to be able to say that, yes, we are having these functions. This person is going to be organizing and bringing in new ideas because we're going to be having, again, the ages of 60 and really 55 on up. Actually, we have a 104-year-old woman. So on up. And to be able to, we have a lot of younger people coming in now, and I want to make sure that we make it as interesting and as engaging for our 60-year-old as we do for our 92-year-old. And
I haven't
we,
been called a younger person in a long time. I really appreciate it.
so, but I think, I know I can make up all, I mean, I'm making these programs now,
Yeah.
but sometimes what's hard for me is I set up the program, but I can't always be in that class at that time, making sure, like, I have staff to do that, but it'd be great that the program coordinator could do all, you know? And sometimes, and you have a coordinator, they could actually even do, you know, save us money with doing a cluster of things. So my hope to here for asking you tonight is to be able to have, again, a full-time program coordinator / outreach, because I think the outreach also gives that person a feel of what the community is all about and what programming they would like to see. Because you and I could think, oh, they want this, but no, you really have to know the community well enough as to who you're servicing to make sure everyone has good educational, fun, and refreshing time. So, that's kind of like the fastest on speed. I tried to make it quick for you.
Terry.
Can I ask a question, please? So you had a half-time person you were sharing, Patty.
Yeah.
Yep.
With Veteran Services. So if I understand correctly, she's moved over to the Veterans Office full-time.
Yep, currently, right now, yep.
But your budget already included half-time salary for when you had Patty.
Another half.
So you're really only asking for
Another half.
another
Half-time,
half-time,
yeah.
Correct.
not a whole new
Yeah.
person.
Correct, thank you, Teresa, yes,
Right.
perfect.
And I think that seeing the way you described the advantages of the new senior center, you're really going to need somebody to come in and invent some really terrific reasons for people to come down there and stay. Because they
Right.
come because they want to take a look at it, it'll be beautiful and amazing. And then you need the hook to get in to stay. So
I have to say,
support that.
interesting enough right now, because of this new senior center, I think we're getting a feel for it. The new center senior being built at this time, we're having a larger group than I anticipated already coming in,
Great.
because they want to make sure that they're an active piece of it. And some people think that they have to register in order to be, and I'm like, no, you're a resident of Wilmington, you can come in. But people really want to make sure they're a part of it now, so that when it opens, that they know, kind of get a feel of what's going on. So, and that's that younger piece.
How are you handling non-residents coming in?
Yeah. How we handle it? Well, it can be challenging at times. So, I'll explain the challenge right now. So, because our exercise programs are free, there has been more talk in our surrounding communities that we are doing our classes free. So we're finding that in the past month and a half, there's been an increase in these classes. So what I will be doing is, and that's since COVID. COVID kind of changed things up a little bit. So I was pretty open as to being very flexible, making sure people got out. So right now, what we're doing is we're going to do the classes are going to run 6 weeks at a time. And so people have to sign up and have to check in when they go to that class. And if there's, say, 25 people can be in the dancing class, I cut it off and make a waiting list to make sure that the next 6 weeks, the people that are on that waiting list will be the first for the next 6 weeks, and keep it rotating.
Is there a charge?
So for the outside people, out of town people, at this time, I'm doing Wilmington first. If there's a waiting, if there's room for people out of town, I will have them come in, but I have not charged. No.
Why not?
Why not? It's just been my philosophy that
Well, it's funded
my
with
philosophy.
Funded with state money, right? Your exercise classes?
So sorry?
Your exercise classes are funded with state money.
Correct, and that was my
Money comes
initial.
from the number of Wilmington residents.
You do want to encourage seniors to obviously exercise.
Yeah, but the thing is, we're getting reimbursed from the state for the residents. Okay? Are we getting reimbursed for non-residents?
No. We're not getting reimbursed, we're getting, so say the census is 1,000 people, 1,000 seniors, we're getting that for that, so it's not like a reimbursement as
Okay.
to how many people come in, as how many people are in the population of Wilmington. So, I have been very hesitant, because at the same time, there are a couple of people that are out of town. They do not feel comfortable in their town, and they've really kind of embedded within our community. And then also, we also have the situation where people have moved out of Wilmington, have been a resident for over 60 years, no longer could afford keeping up their home, and some options of the surrounding towns they've had to move to, and want to be still a part of the community. So that's the,
I just don't want to see us getting charged a fee for non-residents. That's the thing, you know.
we would not be, it wouldn't be a detriment to what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Well,
long as-
you're not required to spend that state money on the exercise classes. That's an option that you've made as
Correct.
the administrator.
Correct.
So if we remove that from the equation, my only concern is that I have heard from people that they like the exercise classes a lot, residents. But there are other people bringing people from out of town in, and they're getting bumped. So,
And that's why, exactly why I'm changing it up
And
this
that
month.
creates a lot of
I mean,
bad feelings.
March.
but the way you're changing it is gonna create a lot of work, which will benefit the Wilmington folks. Another reason why you need more help, because keeping track of who was in the last group and contacting them and asking if they want to be in the next group and solidifying that's a lot of work.
And that's what we were doing before COVID. We were very actively doing that.
Yeah.
Again, I got very lax through COVID. But you're right, that position, you're right, it is a lot for the staff. It is, yeah, it does.
Oh, and the other thing, is so the $14 a year from the state,
Yep.
is that for the folks that are registered with you, or is that for,
Oh, the census, the town census.
Census, yeah.
so we don't need to go out and try and get.
No,
folks
no,
that
no,
find
it's
out-
all based on, no, we just have to tell people, fill out your census.
Yeah, okay,
But yeah, no, that's from the town census.
awesome.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Go ahead, Terry.
So I think, I think I'm all set with what I've said. I'm just, again, I'm very fortunate to your group. I want to thank you very much for your committee in so many ways for the past several years, as in the new senior center, and for our department. But again, I just, like, I could do a jig on the table for the new senior center, so.
Not for anything. I look forward to the new senior center. I really do.
Yeah, I think.
That is an awesome new building here in town, and I can't believe how fast it's going up.
Right. I'm very fortunate to be a part of the group that meets weekly with the contractors and the architects and a couple of the other people that are making all that happen. And I have to tell you, they are just as excited about this building. And it kind of reflects as to how things are moving right along. But I never expected, contractors and people to be excited about, oh, did you see this, Terry? Did you see how we're doing? And I'm like, wow. So it's very
Not for anything.
refreshing.
It's amazing. I've gone by that place a few times. Construction is really going great. It really is.
Well, we'll be inviting you, so you've got to come on down.
Okay, sounds good. But thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your input tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
For Terry, regarding the senior center, I don't want this to take up my time on public comment.
It will take up your time, public comments.
I'll reserve, what's the cost of the extras on the building, like the boulders?
What? What's the question?
Actually, I can't answer that exactly the money amount, but that was part of a senior center building committee meeting that we had a couple of weeks back.
Okay, if you don't know, that's fine.
Terry, thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.
Thank you.
IT is up next. John, you're in the hot seat.
I kept it warm for you.
I think you probably just had the two most nervous public speakers, one right after you.
You both do great.
No, thanks, sir. You're doing great, okay?
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
You want to bring up your budget, and we can go from there?
Yeah, so I think sort of the aberration of all these budgets where, immediately when Lou, and the word got out that budgets had to be level funded, I was a little concerned because we had quite a few expenses that were going to hit the IT budget for this fiscal year. I'm going to go through some of the operating budget first. That's increasing by $152,450. A lot of that is $40,000 is the VoIP phone system. We finished the third phase of that project last year for public safety. When we were originally planning the project, the finance director had set up the project so 3 years of those subscription costs were in that capital planning, and then in the fourth year, those VoIP subscription costs would hit the IT budget. So that's one of the reasons that I immediately went to Lou, and there's no way I'm going to be able to level fund this.
I said level fund other than obviously contractual.
Yeah. But no new things.
Yeah.
And the second major factor of that $152,000 is the multi-factor authentication costs. You might remember that last year we had an insurance directive at the beginning of the year that we had to meet a deadline, and we went to you. I think we requested around $80,000 for multi-factor authentication costs. That included Cisco Duo, which is a multi-factor authentication technology, and also additional Microsoft licensing. This is the first year that this is going to be part of the budget process and included in the budget. So $65,000 of that is for these multi-factor authentication costs.
Question for you. Of the MFA, what was the response from the employees?
I'll be honest, the rollout wasn't great. It was incredibly challenging. The timing of it and the timing with the conversations with the unions didn't go too well. I don't understand why that happened, but when we went to roll out the multi-factor authentication and spoke with each employee, most of them A lot of them weren't really aware of it. So we ended up having to sort of have these conversations on the fly. And it was incredibly difficult for myself and my staff.
And I don't know if you have the resources, or Lou does, or whatever. What was the increase in our insurance because they didn't do it?
So we got it accomplished. We got that. We met that deadline. Multi-factor authentication, it was just, I think my staff would attest to this. We got incredibly burnt out, sort of doing it at the last minute to meet the deadline. And then right after, we rolled out the final phase of the phone system project for public safety. And one of the reasons I'm here today is asking for another position, but I'll get to that. But
Okay.
yeah, it was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Is this on that too? The new one that is that the same thing that
That's something different.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Another part of those costs, sorry. Grab my presentation.
$1,500 of those tickets was from me.
Only 15?
Only 15.
Sorry, I can't go entirely off memory.
No problem, John.
Another part of the increase to the operating budget is a ton of inflationary increases across the board from basically every software that we use. One is Archive Social. We had an increase of 13%. Adobe, which we use for all the PDF products and also Creative Cloud products, that increased by 12%. Barracuda, our archiving software and spam filter, increased by 14%. Kuzi Continental Utility Billing Software, this is something that's supposed to be replaced by Munis in this coming year. That increased by 16%. Our telecom costs increased by 16%. Central Square IMC costs, this is the software for the police, fire, dispatch record software. That increased by 5%. We need to replace a lease replacement for Rico and Kisera that contributed to the 3% increase on that. Our SoftWrite, this is that system that was supposed to be replaced by Munis. We're still paying around $100,000 a year between the schools and the town because we're still not completely off SoftWrite because the Munis project is not completed yet. SoftWrite has increased by 5%.
John, just back up for a minute. Who is on Munis?
I honestly cannot tell you who the project manager is.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Lou, can we find out?
I believe Brian Perry had some of that. I think his office, anyway. I know Karen Rash has had some work to do with that. It's basically under that office. I believe.
Well, so the overall project, I'm not sure who was ever in charge of it. Originally, it was Dee Casey, but as you know, when she left, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we just finished the financials with Brian Perry, and now it's moving on to the revenue piece. The revenue piece is going to involve Penny Dudley, the treasurer's office, a conversion from the utility and billing software, and then there's also the revenue that the assessor's office brings in that's going to be part of this implementation in the coming year. So
Okay.
my office will work directly with those offices and really providing the data, but it's those offices that will really be doing the sort of the dirty work of really matching up the conversion of, okay, we have this data in this old system, how do we need it in the new system? How do we need to read it? What do we need to bring in there? I have concerns, though, that some of the scope of this project has been lost over time, and I think it should be revisited.
What's that?
What's been lost, and how can we get it back?
So originally, we had, as you know, we had gone out to town meeting for really a robust ERP system with HR functions, employee functions. I think we ended up paying for grant and project planning, and there's a lot of stuff that we're not using, that we're not implementing, that we really shouldn't be paying for. And I think it's probably something that, as an organization, whether it's with the temporary town manager or the new town manager coming in, it should definitely be revisited.
The school system, are they fully integrated or not?
So they are integrated as far as their financials. I don't know about the revenue piece. I haven't really been involved on as like a high project level in this
Okay.
project. We've been supporting the project as needed with the different departments.
Okay.
And just so you know, John and I do have an appointment tomorrow morning where a lot of these things and some plans going forward as far as implementing the,
Please let me know, okay? And so what's going on, so.
So, you know, that was a major increase to the budget. Munis, we pay right now $220,000 a year. And that increased by 10,000 alone this year. So I think it's important that we look and see what we're paying for.
So you're saying we're paying for both Sofrite and Munis?
And Continental.
Because people didn't move from Sofrite to Munis as they were supposed to?
So
Or why?
I think we went to a meeting right around COVID where I think it was myself, Jeff, and Carrie Coburn-Dion. I provided Jeff and Carrie with the timeline of the Munis project, and what happened. Basically what happened was we started the project. It was led by the assistant town manager at the time. We had a large group of really key people who were working on the project, and everyone left almost all at once. And then COVID hit. And
That was 3 years ago.
yes,
We've been paying for 3 pieces of software for one function for 3 years.
for longer than that. One of the many challenges. One of the
so-
many
You got an-
challenges.
Whose
Sounds like you got
budget
an
is
important meeting tomorrow, Lou.
Whose budget is Sofrite, Munis, and the other piece of software?
This
we're
is all
talking
hitting
about?
my budget. So
Where is that in here? Is that in miscellaneous contractual services?
yeah, it's miscellaneous contractual.
Okay. So, how do we get the other 2 turned off and the one we want to be used
So-
and paid for to actually work?
Yeah, so right now, we're in.
What's gotta happen?
We're in that revenue implementation. So it's my hope that with this year, we're gonna drop off on both Sofrite and Continental costs, but it's important that gets accomplished this year.
John,
And it's more than just money, I'll just say that.
Mr. Temporary Town Manager, how do we make sure this happens?
tomorrow morning, that's one of our things on our
John,
agenda.
Tuesday
is
night,
the
you'll
school
give us an
department
update?
included in your budget?
So the school pays for Sofrite separately from their budget,
Okay.
but we pay for the school's munis use.
And that, can I ask?
Go ahead.
And that $220,000, you also said that we're paying for some things that we're not even using, even if we do implement everything, or the revenue.
We're paying for like project implementation planting. There's a whole suite of products that originally, from the get-go, the organization was planning to use. And I honestly don't know what happened along the line of this project.
John, how do you interact with the school department?
I talk to Ken Lord weekly, probably multiple times a week. Right now, we're going on a few different things. We're about to start the cybersecurity awareness training with the schools again.
Okay, yeah.
This year, I'm pretty excited because the state is using a new vendor for the program called KnowBe4. It's a pretty great and well-known sort of cybersecurity training vendor. And what I like about it is I think I'm going to have more control over what's our phishing simulations are. And do you guys know what phishing email simulations are? Part of the state's awareness training is they send these phishing simulations to our employees, and that's been a major challenge as well. Last year, over a 6-month period, we had 40 employees fall for these phishing simulations. 20 of those employees were what we consider privileged users who have access to financial systems, employee data, and public safety records. So one of the conversations Lou and I are having tomorrow is how to reinvigorate cybersecurity within the organization from the top down.
Okay. Not for anything, you're in the front line. You
I
really
don't
are.
agree with that.
And
I think cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and I think tomorrow, it's my hope that the discussion that comes out of that is that every person who enters this organization understands the responsibility of using their work computer.
You're absolutely right.
John, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
sir. No, go ahead.
So where you had those town employees fall for the phishing thing?
They get additional training.
That was my question, yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have to go back and retrain?
So rather than ransomware, and I think last year the average cost of ransomware to organizations, I think it was like, I don't know, almost 2 million for each event. And the average time it takes to recover from a ransomware event is 21 days. 21 days, 3 weeks of not being able to access any computer systems. It's a serious issue.
And I don't know if it was done in the past, but what I asked John to do when we got those names that who clicked on those phishing, I had them notify their department heads. So they knew who was clicking on these bad links.
Not for anything, you've seen Lowell and a few
Yes.
other communities and what they went through. It's horrible. You know, it's costly.
It's costly, and it will completely stop us in our tracks.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with what you just said, John. It really is the individual's responsibility. Once they're given the appropriate training, and that is reinforced throughout the year with other, seminars and that type of thing. But the individual has to have some responsibility here. It can't be on you or your department. And as far as these fees, it sounds like the most important thing is to get the revenue streams. on
Yes.
this. And the fees are what they are, and then maybe when the new manager comes in, that's gonna be something that they'll have to take a good look at, because you don't wanna just start eliminating things when you haven't fully implemented the revenue piece of things. So there may be something that
There may
you
be-
actually do need.
Yeah, there are solutions that in that system that may help us, but I think it's important that from an organization standpoint, the conversations happen at a high level about creating efficiencies, modernizing, and really creating,
But that's best done after everybody is on board.
yes.
And then you can kind of shake out and you can say, these definitely need to go, we don't need them, we're paying for them.
Yeah.
These have a use, we have to keep them. So it doesn't sound like overnight.
John, do you do any seminars with the employees?
So it's interesting that you mentioned that, John. Part of the reason that I would really like to, there's plenty of reasons, like I'd like to add another employee to my department, but I really want to free up time to, right now, the best way for me to reach 300 or something so odd individuals is by email. But as everyone knows, I mean, you receive so many emails throughout the day, it's just a blank stare when things come through. And I'm sure everyone who works for the town can attest that I can be very long-winded with some of the details I put in my emails. So I think, my plan this year is really to get out to these departments and speaking with individuals in small groups to really have them understand what cybersecurity is, what we do, the IT department does for the town, and sort of what their responsibility is as well.
But the other thing too is we need to do with the committees and.
The committees as well, because
well,
they
yeah.
have email
You
access.
do the departments, but you have to do the committees. It's
Yeah.
not easy out there. It really isn't, so.
It's a scary, scary world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, my friend.
Andy has a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, is getting the revenue, in Munis, is that achievable in this year? Or, is it even achievable?
I haven't been involved in the project to the level where I can answer that. But I've made it very clear with Lou that we have to complete that. And
That's the question.
it's not
nice
just
to
money.
see. Yeah.
It's me, it's my department. We're basically, we're making really terrible decisions to keep these legacy systems alive on our network. It's dangerous. It's a vulnerability. The best analogy I can give you guys I actually saw Susan Inman give a presentation about the insurance and abandoned buildings and how in abandoned buildings, you know, as soon as they're not being used, the insurance skyrockets because they're that big of a liability. Same with legacy software systems. You can't, there has to be an exit plan when you're moving forward. If you're moving to a new software system, you need to retire that legacy system. It's one of the standard baselines of IT, and it's unacceptable if you don't.
So,
Andy,
but I don't know, I guess I don't understand the department structure of this town then, because you're the IT director. I don't understand why you're not managing this conversion and making sure that that happens. I mean, you can come here in front of cable TV and, you know, kind of hit other departments, but there's a lot, I mean, I just don't understand what the function of IT is if it's not to manage the major conversion of your entire financial systems from one system to another. If nobody's in charge of that, I mean, that's the biggest software conversion a town and a school department can go through. That's your.
I agree.
That's the core of what you use computer systems for.
I agree.
And that the IT department is kind of sitting on the outside of this makes no sense to me.
Brad,
So,
Brad, not for anything. In response to Andy as well, it's the finance director who is doing it, okay? And John is a assistant to it, okay? And that's the thing. And we've got to get the finance director and the person from the school department to work together to get it to the Munis. And that's all we can do.
And our finance director just retired.
And that was the first concern I raised to Lou is, you know, we need to make sure this project gets.
If Lou
He
is,
has, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, obviously, this has been going on longer than I've been here
Yep.
since November 1st. But having said that, I feel that this is an extremely important part of the security of our IT. And I have found out, working with John through this and his staff, that, you know, maybe there was a little pushback here and there on different departments, on different deadlines that they have to reach, and maybe there was some walls that were put up for whatever reason. But, and part of our meeting tomorrow is where this is, all has to go away. We have to do what I feel is important. Like all of you, I feel that, and I'm not very good at the IT thing, but I know it's extremely important and dangerous and vulnerable for a community to be in a situation like this. And for whatever reason, like I said, I've only been here since November 1st. I'm not just gonna sit here as a temporary town manager and do nothing, and we will be working on this, and we have been working on this, going forward since I got here, and this is definitely one of my priorities. If you saw my budget presentation that's in the front of this book, I spent a little time on IT, and it was for that reason.
And sorry.
So the meeting tomorrow, are all the decisions to be in the room gonna be in the room?
No, first, no. Okay, we have met offline, but tomorrow is, if it's a 2-hour meeting.
Lay out the plan.
Tomorrow's the plan, absolutely, absolutely.
So-
And Andy?
so- Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to harp on this, but running projects like this is what you do. It makes no sense to me that the director of finance is driving this bus.
Yeah.
Right, it really doesn't. This is
He's
what
a
you do.
user.
This is your bread and butter. You run projects like this. This is your wheelhouse.
One of my beliefs, I think IT absolutely had to be heavily involved in this project. However, when those major the major people who really were the starting point for replacing SoftWrite with Munis had left, I had met with Jeff Hull, and I had told him, we need someone in a financial position, because we were setting up our accounts receivable, accounts payable, and all that to make financial policy decisions on how this system was set up. I wasn't, from an IT professional standpoint, able to make finance decisions for the town. And so I don't know if that was taken as, let's move this to the finance director, but that was a conversation that was had.
Yeah, I remember from the minute they started talking about going to Munis, it was under the direction of the finance director. And John was obviously involved with it, but it was more from a financial standpoint of what kind of software does the town want? And is this the right software to be with?
And HR was heavily involved
And
because
HR,
there was our
So
HR
that
module.
kind of moved everything down the road, and he was providing the technical
Correct.
expertise. But the other department was providing the wish list and the needs.
I get that, right? He's not gonna decide what software the town needs, the town's gonna decide, but once that decision was made, I would think it's up to you to decide what the rollout plan is and when old systems go away and when new things come online. And if those folks don't keep up with their plans, then that's gotta go to the town manager and it's gotta get exposed.
I agree
To
with
say that the finance person's gonna set up the rollout schedule makes no sense to me at all.
I agree, and I'm
So how
not,
do we get the control in the right person's hands?
it all starts tomorrow morning, but I agree, and I'm not pointing out any director, or any department head, or any department at all. But at the end of the day, you can only ask so many times. And if you don't have the support that you need to do your job, sometimes your job's a little hard to do. Okay? And I'm not pointing any departments or any one person or two people. That's, you gotta
Yeah, I wasn't
have
trying, I
the
wasn't trying to
support.
point blank, that was not my intent at all.
No, I know. I'm
We're
just
lost.
saying,
How
no.
we got lost is irrelevant. How we gonna find our way to where we need to
Right.
be?
Correct.
And-
Doesn't matter how we got here.
You know,
We gotta
correct.
look to the future. How do we fix this and how do we stop paying for 3 systems when we should only be paying for 1?
Correct.
It's a waste
That
of
all
town
starts
money.
tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
And not for anything, security comes
And
first.
it's not-
11.
Well,
Not your fault.
I agree with that.
I think this is a very constructive conversation. I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah. I
As a
do.
resident.
John, to answer your point, not to embellish or, we have police, we have fire, and we have IT. And I think all 3 of those entities protect our residents of our town. I'm not saying that IT is part of the police department or part of the fire department. I'm just saying that in my thinking, and I'm not an IT person at all, but learning what I've learned over the last three plus months.
Yeah.
Is we have an issue. And
And not for anything, looking at other communities, IT is right there. You know, they're our first defense. You know, I went to a jury duty in Lowell a few months ago. Their parking meters didn't work.
because of the IT.
Because they get hacked, you know,
We're involved in everything.
yeah. And you have to
Like
be.
it or not, right?
Yeah. And John,
Yeah.
John, not for anything, you have to be. And I applaud you. I really do. Because we need this defense against,
Everybody.
I was so
not just within the U.S., but outside the U.S. as well.
Yeah, if, you know, I always sort of explain to people, if you saw my inbox and the amount of notifications of the threats that are out there.
Oh, yeah?
You know, just in the last week, the Homeland Security was in front of Congress talking about,
Yep.
you know, China basically staged themselves across all our critical infrastructure for 5 years. Just sitting there on our systems, just waiting, you know, and the thought was that the government, you know, if China was going to invade Taiwan, they would then trigger this critical infrastructure to really, you know, it's just, these are the things that I read about, and, you know, there were,
I was just gonna say, why?
Luke could probably tell you that I don't see.
I was gonna say, no wonder you can't sleep at night.
Not for anything, I realize we can't talk about certain things because we're open meeting, but I applaud you big time. I really do, you know.
John, one question here.
Go ahead.
So with the SoftWrite and the Continental softwares that hopefully we can get off of
Yes.
with Munis being there, are those, is that a year-long agreement we have to sign with them, so then we'll be locked in for the next year, or?
With SoftWrite and Continental,
Yeah.
so that's an interesting question. Continental requires in their contract, and I have to look at the SoftWrite contract, like a 6-month notification. And it's always important to read these software contracts because there's sometimes an early termination fee.
Yeah.
We do need to pay for Continental and SoftWrite for the full year, and
Okay.
we do.
that line item sure as hell better be lower next year.
So I also would like to warn everyone that there's gonna be ancillary costs with the two new building projects. You know, while these costs are hopefully gonna escape my budget, we also then have to consider the technology that's gonna be going into these buildings, and whether it's subscription costs for access control systems, for card swipe systems, access points for Wi-Fi have subscription costs, cameras have subscription costs. While the decisions are made on the technology of these building projects, these costs have to be considered because it's not just one-time implementation.
Yeah.
So the one time is part of the build,
Yes, but I mean,
the ongoing is.
that's gonna hit my budget.
Got it.
Anything else, Andy? No. Anything else, John?
Do you want me to talk about the new position?
Yeah, that's the big increase in other.
Yes. Up until now, anything after 4:30, I have been sort of responsible for at night and on the weekends. I get some help when I go on vacation, but otherwise it's been me. This year, I would like to request, or at least have, request support to add an additional position, but also on-call pay. That on-call pay would not be for me. It would create a stipend for the two positions to be on call and split that time with me as well. And I would just assume, just as the director, I assume a lot of after-hours work and on-call, but it would be very helpful to be able to split some of that load. We support a public safety operations that's open 24/7, a library that's open 6 days a week, nightly meetings, and we have to be able to respond to alerts. And it's not, an alert that there's immediate things that can happen that we need to act on.
Question for you. Does public safety need an individual just for them?
In my conversations with other community IT directors about IT departments, it's sort of a mixed bag, but a lot of communities have in-house, I wouldn't say dedicated IT, but there's really a technology person within the PD that really assists. We also, in the coming year, there's a lieutenant who handles the administration part of the police, fire, and records access software, who's going to be retiring for the next couple of years. So I'm already having conversations with Chief Desmond about making sure that someone's shadowing him, and really there's a replacement plan.
Are
That's
the number of
stuff we
tickets?
can't
Yeah.
see.
I'm sorry, sir?
That's the stuff that our IT department can't see, that part of the police work. That's,
It's just not appropriate
Of
for my staff and I
the
to see
number
criminal
of tickets that have come in, how many are from the public safety?
That's a good question. I didn't do that this year. The one year I didn't do it.
John, come on.
If you don't mind, Chair, I could get that information for you.
Please do, okay? Because if a individual is needed just for public safety, I would definitely support that,
can I just, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
we are fortunate to have John, Andrew, and Sue. He has an unbelievable staff.
They're fantastic.
The problem with them all is they care. They care so much that they take to heart when we have situations like this, or when he gets that call. I happened to be texting John on a Saturday night, and I said,
And he answers,
"Oh,
yes,
by the
I know.
way, you're gonna get a call from the police department, because I just saw on the scanner that their system went down." And he, LOL, I just got the ticket. So they have an incredible staff, and Andrew can do the nights, and he can do the nights, but I don't take lightly to, asking you for another FTE right now, obviously, but I feel that it's that important that John, Andrew, and Sue will be able to continue to do things, and free him up to do a little bit more of the departmental,
That's why I asked about the police department and fire department, okay? They're our first offense,
right.
and we need them, okay? I've seen other municipalities, and they've been hacked, and they pay dearly,
Oh, yeah.
okay? I don't want to see that here.
No.
You know,
I'm hard pressed to believe that a town the size of Wilmington, that's equivalent to any big business, has an IT department with only 3 people today. That to me is shocking.
Chris, you're absolutely right. I agree with you, you know.
That
Think
is-
about what
that
it
is
takes
why
to
I'm here.
run a small store, or an enterprise
Yep.
a third the size of this town,
That's
and
'cause
it's
they
incredible
probably-
that you do it with 3 people.
Probably
So-
each work 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week.
Well-
If John's anything like the IT guys I know, they're always on.
I'm fine with that line item, add another person. I'm still
Right.
worried about the fact that we're paying for 3 systems to do one, but I'm good with the add another person.
And not for anything, I've
I-
emailed John on a Saturday or whatever and got a response.
Always on.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't take lightly asking for another FTE while I'm temporary, but I feel that this is important. And just knowing what I've known over the past 3 months I've worked with them for almost 20 years that I've been here for that department, but just seeing this side of it is concerning to me, and I feel like we
It's
have to,
not for, it's a big concern,
yeah.
okay? And I don't want to see us get a email from someone saying we want 20,000 Bitcoins or whatever, okay?
I'd click on that.
You know. You know,
our problem.
and I applaud John
one of the
for what he does, you know, and we go from there,
And
so.
also, I'd like to commend you and your staff for meeting the deadline for the dual and authenticity program.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That was a
came-
stressor.
That was immense.
My staff was, last year, was incredible. They're always incredible, and they're, like Lou said, they're always on.
Yeah.
That was very impressive. I remember meeting with you when that first declaration came down from the
Yeah.
insurance company. And, where to start. I mean, it was just,
Was one of the,
and
one
we
of,
all felt terrible for you when we left. But then to see how you came through, you got it in on time. And I know it was very, very difficult, but you did it and.
Thank you.
it's appreciated.
one of the reasons too that I desperately feel that this department needs an additional position is really freeing up to my staff and I to be able to train and learn some of these new technologies. A lot of the times that we're so busy, we're learning and implementing on the fly. So not only are we really, like the MFA and the Duo, we were certainly learning on the go. And I think it's critical, at least in my perspective, that my staff and I are able to carve out time to training, because as you know, nothing stays static in IT. Everything changes daily. There are updates daily, and we're involved in software updates across the organization. Every software that someone uses that updates, we're involved with. We're involved in everything.
And the cost of another person in your department will be minuscule
It's minor.
compared to what it may help us prevent.
Yes.
I hope so.
I would,
Budgeted at 90
I
grand.
was just gonna say
I
that,
don't-
Teresa.
Oh,
How many events, I know the answer, how many events would it take to eat up $90,000?
Andy,
Yeah.
One, exactly,
Yeah.
one event.
I actually
Avoid
gave
water
a
on your
presentation to department heads where I took those 40 incidents and I said, let's consider this. Let's consider taking each of these incidents isolated, and then let's run them up in the series. And if each ransomware incident cost us 21 days, we wouldn't have been working for the last 2.5 years.
yeah.
I had John in at a department head meeting after I saw the list of 40 and said, we have to do some more training, and he did. He put a screen up with 40 little people and explained it. So, yeah, again, I think it's needed, and,
John, your peers, with the size of our community, what is their IT department like?
So it's interesting, similar to what I said about the PD, it's a mixed bag, and it's really a variety of positions. So even though we're really adding a position, I haven't settled on the classification of what the title is, because, across communities, sometimes you'll see specific Munis administrator positions, because Munis is such a encompassing software, that communities will actually have specific positions dedicated to Munis. Other communities also have, some have now, the trend is we're seeing cybersecurity hires. Methuen, I think, has just recently added a cybersecurity position to their department. Lowell is also looking for one this year.
They need one.
Yes.
Good year to ask for it.
I was gonna say, one year too late.
Different communities are doing different things, but it seems that, especially now with all the threats to the municipalities, that these IT departments are growing.
With Munis, is that easily hackable?
So Munis for us is in a cloud, and so the responsibility of the security is with Tyler Technologies.
Okay.
And when we were first sort of vetting Tyler, they did have a pretty robust security system. They also made some changes last year with secondary authentication that I think has helped with that security as well. My concern with Tyler is I don't know if they have complete fail-safe redundancy, meaning that if we're running our weekly warrant on a Tuesday or a Wednesday and say something's not working in the system in the cloud with their data center on the East Coast, I don't know if they have a redundant data center that will just take on the load if we can't contact their data center. So there's been a couple instances where we haven't been able to access Munis, but it's been resolved pretty quickly.
They do MFA?
They do. It's a single sign-on through. It's linked to our login that has the MFA. So it's a very complicated authentication.
At each login, do they do MFA, or is it just one time only?
So it depends on the technology. We have different, like for desktops, we allow some users to set their MFA for 8 hours so that every time they're logging in, it's not tripping that off. The big MFA thing, I think, for us and certainly for me, are definitely email accounts. One of the big issues with communities right now is everyone is getting hacked, their email accounts, and then what happens is, cybersecurity you need to approach it like a ubiquitous way, and from the entire Commonwealth, because we all communicate with each other. And I've been trying to sort of discuss this with different departments that, we speak with other communities, we speak with, other businesses. So, if we're hacked, they then communicate with all our contacts, and then it keeps on
Goes from
going
there,
in
yeah.
a vicious cycle. It's like, like I said, it's the responsibility of everyone.
Not fun. Anything else, John?
No, do you
Any
guys?
questions from the committee? From the public? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And not for anything?
Thank you.
You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that.
You really are. I mean,
I honestly, I feel like I have really failed getting the message across to the organization these past few years. It's my hope that, Lou already gets it, which is just so incredibly great to feel that support.
You only push so hard on an outdoor when you're trying to go in, so. it's not so much.
Words to live by,
Yeah,
write it down.
We get it too.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
we really do. And not for anything, you're our first offense. You really are.
Keep saying that.
Fix it.
No, John, the pressure's on.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there goes more insomnia.
But thank you.
I just want to reiterate, thank this committee for your support and your volunteerism, and also, thank my management and staff. Like I said, my staff is incredible.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Thank you very much.
The only problem was they care. Seriously.
Fix
Yeah.
that, Lou, will you?
Yeah, I'll get it so they don't care.
John, have a good night. Take care.
Thank you.
Just beat it out of them. right?
Thank you.
See you tomorrow morning.
Sorry, Lou.
Beth, come on down. You get the hot seat.
You bet.
So I too am not a good public speaker, so I have something written up to keep me on track.
How you doing?
We're not that bad. We're not so bad.
So I'm Beth Lawrenson, Town Clerk for Wilmington,
Really?
as you all know. I'm here to present 3 budgets. the town clerk's budget, the registrar of voters, and the election budgets. This is one of my more challenging years because of all of the presidential elections. My budget goes through the roof, but there are some key points that you should all know about that will make you feel a little bit better. I'll start with the clerk's budget. So last year, you allowed me to upgrade my dog registration system. It is also a credit card system. There are fees for the resident, but it was actually less than what I was currently using for my credit card system, and they work together.
A lot of complaints.
Yeah. So it was an adjustment period. We worked out a lot of the tweaks. This company is a company that will come out and will customize it. So as we see issues, they've worked with marinas and permitting and things of that nature. But we are currently about 400 dogs ahead of where we were last year, and we're in the middle of a March early voting ballot, so that says a lot. Saved us a lot of time. My staff and I are looking at a lot of different ways to work smarter, because every other year we have a quiet year. There's 3 of us, we can handle it. This year, you'll see we're gonna look a little crazed. By the end of the year, we're gonna look like we aged, but it doesn't merit hiring or expanding, so I've been using senior work-off people during my elections, but we'll stick with the clerk's budget for now. So there is a yearly fee with this dog registration. It's for our dog GIS that our dog officer uses, and it's for our texting and emailing capability right from the computer. It saves me a lot of time. So that's additional. It's less than it was last year because there was a startup fee last year, so that actually went down. I'm asking for fees for a folding machine. Penny Dudley in the Treasurer Collector's Office uses it. I use it quite often. The one we have now doesn't work, so we're not using it at all. So we thought we could share it. I use it sporadically, so we'll split the cost, share the folding machine. So that fee was $1,131. It's a one-time fee under my contractual services. And my last increase to this category is my time clock. So I actually purchased another time clock. Because of this new early voting law, I'm beating it to death, and it's losing ink. I can't really upgrade it because we really beat this. This is an iron time clock that will take a beating all day long.
I can still hear that.
Yeah, if I went to a fancy one, it would die. I'm initiative petitions, I stamp about 3,000, the ballots, So I got an additional one to get us through the season. And that means usually on a presidential year, I have it serviced twice. I'm having 2 of them serviced twice, but they gave it to me at a discount. So that increased probably about 600. It usually is like 2 to 3, so it increased to 600. But again, next year I'll only have it serviced once.
That gives a seal as well, right?
No, the seal is a different machine. I repaired the seal this year, so I have, I have an electronic seal and I have a manual seal. It wore down, and I found out I could just buy a new.
Die.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we actually installed it ourselves. I was very proud of myself.
Did you really?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
You can snap it off and pop it up.
I'm
yeah.
impressed.
So training and conferences also went up, but that was the cost of hotels and the cost of the conference fees. It was slight. It wasn't a major. That's something the Mass Town Clerks Association holds these conferences 4 times a year. Michelle Tassinari, the head of elections, vital records, conflict of interest, public records law, they all give classes, and we're able to go about 4 times a year and take part of that. And it's not a huge fee, but my assistant town clerk and I attend, and it's a big help to keep up with the law. So in printing, advertising, and binding, the last category that has changed a little bit, under this category, I budget every year for historical preservation. Oh, I'm sorry.
Under postage and everything else, do you get charged from the Secretary of State's office for what they send out?
For ballots?
Yeah.
I have, I can touch base on that in my elections, because that's a big question. That's
Okay.
a big change in my budget, and I have to explain the new reimbursement that they voted on 2 years ago. We got some of the money back last year, but this year will be a bigger dollar amount. So I put that last because it's a little more involved. My elections are a little more complicated.
No problem, no problem.
So I budget every year for historical preservation, and I wanted to give you a little update on that. I try to do a book every year. We have had the same budget, I think it's around $3,500, to take a historical document that's being destroyed and falling apart and preserving it or restoring it, and then it's restored forever. It can't decay. We have specific companies we use, and depending on what the need is, one is a little more expensive than the other. So I have, my assistant town clerk and I have evaluated what's in the vault. And last year, we discovered 2 vital record death books that had burial permits from World War II people that died in the war, like 17, 18-year-old kids. And they were being destroyed because of this black burial permit that was glued, for whatever reason, to the death cert. So we priced it out, and it was very expensive. And it was at the end of one fiscal year, the beginning of another. So we combined the 2 years. We restored one of the books in one of our historical books that 1807, it was minutes from town meeting from 1807, 1834. It had miscellaneous items in it from 1777 to 1783. This book was completely unbound. It was in an envelope. The cover was on one side. They took this book and they put it in protective seals. They put it in order and categorized it. And it's in a box. It'll never decay forever. But the 2 things were expensive. So we carried over 1 year's restoration budget, combined it with the other, but we still had another death book with death certificates being destroyed. Lou didn't want to increase any funding, so we had to get creative. My assistant town clerk approached me and said, I think I found a grant. So she applied for this grant, and so she got approved for it. And it's a matching grant, so it's within my budget. Our budget was $3,500 for restoration. That $3,500 also includes what we put our vital records, new certs in, so they'll never decay. So we have special sleeves and special books. So this, the State Historical Records Advisory Board granted us a matching grant of $2,037. So this will allow us to repair the final death book that's being destroyed, and one other book. So if it's keeping up with my goal of a book a year. I mean, the last one was a book every 2 years, but we won't have to do, those death books took a lot of, it was NEDCC. They're a museum quality nonprofit group out of Andover. They had to use chemicals to save the death certs. And some of them, that's the only record that these men were ever alive. So I guess it's a veterans meeting.
Yeah.
But they did a beautiful job. So that what they did was they recreated, they separated it, they recreated the sleeves and put them in. So the kind of the decaying one had a photocopy. They digitized it. I actually gave you some photos
Yeah.
for the vet's office.
Can I just, part of it was too, the record, the sticker that they put on it was the sticker that came back on the coffin.
On the coffin.
So they had
Wow.
the death certificate, they basically took that off and just slapped it on the, so
Yeah.
it was a mess. It was yeah.
So we'll be able to save $2,000 repairing the second book. That's very similar to the one we did. And we'll still be able to do another book with what we normally budget. So that's not increasing. I just wanted to kind of give my assistant town clerk a little public praise because she did a really good job. She also found a grant to work with a historical curator, something to the effect of a matching grant when they're doing repairs to the building. I don't know if they'll get that, but she's working with him on possibly trying to get some funds towards that project as well. So that's it for the town clerk's budget. The registrar of voters, I really only changed because of the cost of paper for my printers. So I do what my vendor, my printing company, I call them when I budget and say, what do you think for envelopes, for when I do mailings, when I do inactivations? And they said told me 10%. So we worked through what we order and I increased that, but it wasn't very much. I wasn't asking for more in that budget. Elections, this is my year. The increase here is due to the number of elections we have on a presidential election year. So we have, this March election is covered under the fiscal year 2024. We're currently doing early voting. We're currently doing postage for the mailing. We're going to be hiring election workers. That's where you asked that question. Part of the law was reimbursement. So anything I pay for in-person early voting, all those election salaries will be reimbursed. Any postage that I pay, and I don't really even have to keep track of it. When I log in these ballots in my database, it asks us, are they in-person or are they mailed? If they're mailed, that's a tally that runs with the state, and they know that we're using that much postage. It's 82 cents per ballot. I actually did budget for 2025 for the two state primary presidential election. I put in an additional 11,000. What I don't use will go back, obviously, but what I do use will be refunded. So in 2022, I had, after the state election, I get a survey from the state auditor's office, and it's about a 25-page survey that we're required to fill out. So we got back 16,103 for the state primary state election. So it covered the custodian on the weekends only. It covered the election workers for in-person early voting. It covered the stamps. It covered my staff's overtime, only on after hours, only overtime, not regular salary. It covered, I did ask for additional things. I had to have additional hard plastic storage boxes to seal my ballots in. So they asked if I had any additional costs, because the early ballots have to be stored separately. So I did ask for that as well. So the number, I don't know how they come up with the number, because it's not like I'm itemizing these things out. They asked me, how many hours did this person work? And so they just came back. They told me at first I would get 15, and then when I finally got it, it was 16,000. So that was nice, you know, and they're going to continue doing that. And they just announced they're also going to reimburse us for our local election because of the postcards
Okay.
that you've all gotten.
Yep.
So because it has all elections this year, we're required to mail ballots for our local election. We do anyway if someone asks for it, but we're required to do it if they ask for elections all year. So they're going to reimburse us postage and for our any overtime that incurs. The tabulators are great. Yeah, they
Okay.
work really well. Yeah, they do.
You need service, or?
We have a yearly maintenance fee, and we have, during an election, we have an on-call person that will come out if something happens. I now
Okay.
have 2 spares. We have a 29 fund. It's an old law, uni hours law, where they required that we expand our hours beyond our working day.
Yep.
And then they reimbursed us for the staff. That particular reimbursement has to stay in the 29 fund and has to be used for elections. So occasionally, if it gets too large, the accounting director will say, what do you need? And we only had 1 spare, and I had one election where it died, and we were down to no spares.
Oh, wow.
So I said, I'd rather have 2 spares. We have 3 locations. You know, that way if we have a spare go down, we have another one in the background in case.
Sorry.
So I budgeted for all these events: the September primary, the presidential election, the local election, the annual town meeting, and I always put in for a special town meeting due to the, there always seems to be one. I don't think there will be, knock on wood, this year. I think what they need might be able to be lined up with the town election.
gonna say,
in
look to your right.
2025. Yeah, yeah, well, I know one might be coming, but I think it's gonna line up with the 2025. It's a funding, these buildings, I know that on the horizon it might be coming. So we just touched base a little bit on this, the reimbursement, and that I added $11,000 to cover the two elections for postage. So what we're doing is Beverly's putting the postage money into the machine. I'm using this, my account number, my budget number, and then we're keeping track of how much postage we're using and how much needs to be put in the next. What I experienced at the 2022 state election, we didn't anticipate so much postage. We didn't anticipate the water bills going out at the same time. And then there was an HR thing with the retirement community that Kathy had to use a lot of. So we were in frantically trying to get postage in this machine. So I have put in some funds into the machine, and then we're going to look at what we used and evaluate what we can put in for the next, based on what we had at the last, say, I based the March primary on what we had at the last state primary, because I have nothing, we've never done early voting for the March primary before. So I had to base the numbers on what we experienced at the state primary, which was usually around 3,000 to 4,000. Right now, we're up to 2003, where is that? 2,000, I had it here, 2,325 ballots have been mailed this week, in 3 days. So it's probably going to be around 4,000 ballots, I would think. So another point I want to touch base on. Started using general code, and I really struggled with this one because I don't know if I should have it in my budget. General code recommended that I budget $4,900 in case there's inhabitant changes at a town meeting. Depending, that would cover she said that would be the worst case scenario if you had 4 or 5. What they do is they do a legal analysis of it, and they edit the general code that's on our website. We didn't have any last year, so Jeff didn't want to put it in my website. I didn't want to make that decision, so I put it in the budget, and I felt like if you wanted to take it out, you could take it out. Or if you wanted to lower it, you could lower it. They give me a guesstimate of what they think might be the worst-case scenario. Say a community changes for their major inhabitant bylaws, a noise ordinance, or, anything. They have legal fees that they charge us. Again, we didn't have to pay anything last year. We may not have to, I don't think we have anything coming up on the warrant. And the warrants for the public is closed.
Are the legal fees automatic?
No, it's based, they'll give me an estimate before we spend it.
Oh, okay.
So they'll say, okay, you only have one, it may take 2 hours, we're gonna give you this. That's why I was I don't know whether to put this in. And I'd rather that be something, if you say lower it to 2,000, or if you say, I don't want you to put it in, then I'm not negligent in not telling you that this might happen. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd rather you know about it and say, yeah, we'll not do it, than not know about it and ask me why I didn't put it in. So it just made common sense to me. So that part of it, I think, is your discretion. I had this, Jeff and I struggled with it last year. Do we lower it? We had nothing on the docket for inhabitants changes, as we don't this year, but we might in '25.
It's very conservative and put it in there.
And if we don't use it, we don't use it. It stays there. So my ImageCast tabulators that you just asked about, their maintenance fee increased from $1,750 to $2,000. I believe that because I got that extra spare. I got another spare for the tabulator, and that it's a certain fee per tabulator. The sound system for the annual town meeting last year was raised to $3,285. I budgeted $7,000 in case we have a special. Again, that's just being conservative, not wanting the extra money to purchase something. If we have a special, we're gonna need a sound
Does
system.
that include the flat panels?
Believe it does.
Okay.
It's been booked by the building department.
Okay.
They've worked hand in hand with this video company or the sound company that comes out. So he handles all of it. George has always ordered it in the past. I've been talking to Dennis about taking over it so I can have a little more involvement and find out what is encompassing, what
Yeah,
it
okay.
includes, how many companies does he do a bid with. I know he does use different companies from time to time.
Yeah.
And I think he prices it out. It is expensive. But again, the $7,000 is to cover, what really the fee will be is $3,285.
Okay.
$7,000 is to cover if we have a special town meeting.
Thank you.
And the last is the E-code maintenance fee. That is to have them come out and set up, it's for the poll pads. They set up our poll pads. They have an on-call person during elections and town meeting. So I do uploading of extracts, and they build the election in my poll pads, and then it's an E-code system, so that I log on, and the election itself and my voter lists are downloaded, and it's a fee per election, so it fluctuates from year to year. We used to only use 3 poll pads, and we could only use it in restricted ways. Then Tina expanded it to 6 poll pads because we were starting to be allowed to use it at elections as long as we kept a book as well. And I brought in a spare, so now we have 7 poll pads that we maintain every year. So in this case, they're coming out and they're setting up my early voting, and then they wipe them clean, and then they come out again and they set up my election day. And they do that now at every election, where in the past, they only did it for the local elections or town meeting, because that's when we had 3. And they only did it for 3 machines. Now they're doing it for all 7. Actually, my early voting, they do it for 3 machines, 3 poll pads, for every early voting that I have. And then on election day, they have 6 poll pads, plus my spares. So that's why it's increasing this year. I anticipate it going way back down again next year. when we only have one election, one town meeting. And so that's it. The remainder of that budget remained the same. Does anybody have questions for me?
That's what I was just going to ask. Any questions from the committee?
You're welcome.
Thanks for making it all seem so seamless.
Oh, thank you. It's really not. Ask him. He's next door. He hears us.
It's incredible what,
But it doesn't look that way when you walk in as a voter.
Yeah, you're right.
Everything just looks so
Yeah.
perfectly.
yeah, but I
It's
can
a
tell
lot
you,
of
as I've said numerous times about department heads, this office next door is just a buzz all the time, all day, every day. And Beth's one of the first ones in the building every day.
I have a great staff too. They'll do whatever I ask. If I need them to stay to finish and get the ballots out, they do. Again, 2,000 ballots in 3 days it's pretty impressive.
Wow.
And on top of registering dogs, and we have 1,500 households that have census that is coming in, and we're sorting, and we have to update the census as we do these ballots, because what if somebody moved and signed the census and they're no longer a voter, right? So we just started getting them back last month, so we're doing everything all at the same time, which is, it's a little exhausting, but it's only every 4 years.
Not for anything, Beth. Great job.
Thank you.
It really is, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Name and address?
Speak anonymously, I don't want to take your time.
I think it's disgraceful that you're discouraging people from town from coming to these meetings and speaking. And when there's 3 departments here, to average out your time to 1 minute to department, I think is very unreasonable. It happens to be my birthday today, and I actually
Happy
turned down
birthday.
going to dinner to be here because I don't feel as though this committee is drilling down and really serving the community to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. I have not been able to find the state law that allows the Finance Committee to authorize funds for non-state of emergency purchases, keeping in mind that the town has not authorized the funding of a new hire, yet you're authorizing purchasing equipment. I also believe that there needs to be some questioning as to whether or not it is a good policy to have employees off-duty taking town vehicles home when the town is self-insured for town vehicles. There has already been accidents. The previous fire chief and his daughter, there's been 2 police cruisers that one crashed into the other one, totaled. I heard there's a 3rd police car that just got in an accident. An $875,000 ladder truck has been in 2 accidents. Keeping in mind that the town is self-insured for for the town vehicles, and there's also been an ambulance in an accident. So I don't think that's a good policy to have people taken home, but I think you should probably take that up. I don't believe that a question and a public comment are the same thing. When I ask a question and somebody doesn't know an answer and they're on a committee and on the department, I think it's unacceptable. There is a federal department known as the Department of Justice, which has a division known as the Antitrust Division. One of the crimes that it is tasked with investigating is the crime of bid rigging. This occurs when there's collusion, kickbacks, and other nefarious behavior. And our budget this year is over $138 million. It's going up over $5.5 million. And we're hearing comments that we're level funding it and it's making it sound like it's all rosy, but increasing it $5.5 million, I think it needs to be taken a look at. The maturing debt and interest on page 83 of the budget book, it's going up over $3 million, and it's kind of confusing why maturing debt would be going up $3 million. I haven't really seen a transparent presentation of the financials to the town to actually show compliance with Proposition 2.5. And you're relying on state.
Mr. McDonald, you've reached your time limit.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the timekeeping. You're a certified timekeeper now? But I will tell you
Ms.
one thing.
McDonald, you've reached
No,
your time limit.
I just wanted to say that I happen to believe that Helen Keller and
Donald, you-
Stevie Wonder
time
could
limit.
provide better oversight to the town on the financials than this board. So thank you for your service. And you're still my hero. I'm probably gonna take your picture next meeting.
Any comments from the?
Send it to Bob Kraft and have him change the logo on the Patriots.
Happy birthday.
Because you're just a true patriot. Defender
Mr.
of the
Chair, would you like
Constitution.
a motion?
Yes,
to-
please.
Superhero.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Passes.